Now we're doing a donation deck, a rare donation deck of my favorite deck, Reanimator, Black-Red Reanimator. So a couple things. I'm going to talk about the deck a bunch, but before I do, I'm going to mention donation decks. There are 3 options for donation decks, so if you ever want to do one, you can go to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Ewlandon, and click on the donation panel below the picture and send $15 with a deck list, and I will play it the next chance I get, which is usually within 24 hours or within the next stream or two. And then the other option is if you'd like to either brew a deck, you'd like me to brew a deck with certain cards, you'd like me to tune your deck, you'd like to brew/tune with me, and or you would like to schedule a time to watch it live, so you'd like to work on or ask me to play it at a certain day and time. If you want to do any of those things, donation is done the same way, but you can email me at ewlandon76@gmail.com, and we can work on whatever of those things you want to do, and that will be $20 or $25 depending on the viability of the deck. So that's donation decks. Laugh PS PSYD, PSYD. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Thank you. They told me to play my favorite list, Pinguster. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the deck. So I see a lot of discussion on Reanimator all over the place. Well, there's a couple... Before I do... So I do Reanimator content on my Patreon, so I don't do videos for Reanimator that often, except for on there. My Patreon is also Ewlandon, so if you're interested, check it out. That's where I keep my sideboard guides and most of my Reanimator content. It's a good way to support the stream as well, if you would like to. But I don't do a lot of videos for Reanimator on my YouTube for that reason, because I'm always doing it for Patreon. But I got a donation today to play my favorite list, so this is the list. This is the list I'm on right now. And I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about it for everybody out there on YouTube watching. Because I see a lot of discussion about certain cards and lots of questions that people ask me, so I'm just going to go through them. So first of all, the deck. By now, most people know what it is and why it's played and things like that. But the reason I think the deck is so good, first of all, is because it has by far the highest win rate of any deck in Legacy across the board, game 1. So you should be winning game 1s 80% of the time, which no other deck can say they have an 80% win rate against the field, and this deck basically does, game 1. No sideboards. Something like 80%. I'm making these numbers up, but I'm usually about right. Okay, and another thing I'm going to talk about is I've started tracking for preparation for the GP, and I just do that every once in a while to see if my idea in my head about win rates, matchup percentages, and things like that is usually about where I think it is, and usually I'm pretty right. So this deck generally has, I would say, an 80% win rate across the field, game 1. Which is a huge benefit to the deck. So then you just have to figure out how to win one sideboard game in most matchups. And that's where things get really difficult, and that's where you need to learn how to beat hate. Yeah, so you have this super great win rate game 1, and then you need to learn the ins and outs of how to beat hate with the deck. And the main hate that you have to beat is Surgical Extraction and Leyline of the Void. Cathy says it feels so good to take game 1 from Reanimator. Yeah, because you feel like if you can win game 1 against Reanimator with your blue deck or whatever, then winning one of the 2 sideboard games with hate is much easier, right? Because you usually are able to win one. So you really want to win game 1 with this deck. Not that you can't win both sideboard games, but obviously you don't have an 80% win rate against any deck game 2 with this deck like you do game 1. So anyway, to beat those hate cards, that's what the sideboard is here for. So to beat counter spells, I mean, you have 8 discard spells already, and you have such a high density of reanimate spells. So basically, to beat counter magic, you just have to find a way to get Gristlebrand into your graveyard by using your discard spells and things like that. And then you can just start jamming your reanimate spell is targeting Gristlebrand, and like if one ever resolves and you're not dead, then you win. So that's how you beat counter magic. But surgical extraction plus counter magic, things get a little bit trickier because you can't necessarily win the game in that exact same way. Because say you use your unmask to resolve Gristlebrand into the graveyard, and then you start jamming your reanimate spells, and they counter the first two, and then they draw surgical. Like that plan is gone. Now you don't have your Gristlebrands, and there's no other creature in your deck that beats those decks as soon as it resolves, like a Gristlebrand does. So the sideboard games are a bit trickier than that. So the ways to beat surgical is I have 2 Xantid Swarms. The Xantid Swarm's great because what it does is it makes it so that, well, if you read the card, it makes it so they can't cast spells if it attacked. So even if it died in combat, like they blocked it with a Delver, they can't cast spells. So if you use your Xantid Swarm, you don't want to use it to resolve and entomb and then pass the turn because of the surgical thing, but you just want to be able to completely combo after the Xantid Swarm attack. Sometimes you'll have to do something like loot, and then your hand just doesn't let you not put a creature in your graveyard, so it's not at its best there. But generally what you're trying to do is Xantid Swarm and then combo, and that's obviously the point, right? But what happens is they counter your Xantid Swarm, so because they can't counter other things if it resolves, unless they have an answer for it. So they counter it, and then you can just like reanimate it. And then they're like, oh crap, what do I do? So they're going to have to counter that reanimate spell, or they're going to have to kill the Xantid Swarm. So it's the same position, right? Or they have to use their surgical in the Xantid Swarm, which... So if they do any of those things, they're using their resources to stop Xantid Swarm, which every time they do that, you know, you're going through another turn, and like you're drawing another card, and you're helping yourself set up that combo turn where you like say unmask and then entomb and exhume or whatever. So you make them use their resources trying to answer Xantid Swarm, and then you combo. That's what it does, as well as the just wins because they can't counter your stuff. The cards that it's bad against are Renin 6, but Renin 6 isn't actually good against us, so most decks would side it out, and if they're like tapping out for it on turn 2 to answer your Xantid Swarm, then that's usually like often a window where you can try and combo with a discard spell as well, so it still kind of did its job. And then the other card that it's bad against is Swords to Plowshares, because it can't reanimate it if they Swords to Plowshares it. And the Swords to Plowshares decks aren't leaving in Swords to Plowshares for Xantid Swarm, they're leaving it in for your creatures, so you don't actually get a whole lot of benefit from them casting Swords to Plowshares on your Xantid Swarm. Or for leaving in Swords, that kind of thing. So that and then there's the Pyroblast. So the Pyroblast does a few things. You can use it for counter magic, so if you unmask them and then they Force of Will you because they're protecting a surgical, you get to Pyroblast their Force of Will, and then you get to unmask their surgical. So it makes your discards more powerful. And it has this other benefit against Show and Tell, where some games against Show and Tell or Omnitell or whatever, you're staring at each other for a long time. Obviously the card's really good against the counter magic, but it's also really good to draw into off of your Gristlebrand if they Show and Tell in Omniscience, which is one of the more common Show and Tell targets, because especially in a longer game, they're not going to Show and Tell in an Emrakul or even a Gristlebrand a lot of the time, because it's very often loses if they do that. So they wait till they get the Omniscience, and then you can put in your Gristlebrand, and then when they cast their first instant or whatever, you can draw like 14 cards and then Pyroblast their Omniscience. So it's very good there. Alright, and what's next? So we have this part of the deck here. We have 4 Reverend Silences, a Wear Tear, a Shenanigans, and 2 Serenities. So these all answer enchantments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 answers to enchantments. So that's the Leyline of the Void thing. So like basically half of your sideboard is an answer to a Leyline, because that's the one card that you like cannot beat, because it's cast, you can't discard it, and you can't barely can play through it. Like hard casting Gristlebrand, it's not consistent enough. So you generally cannot beat a Leyline of the Void. And since that's the card that you can't beat, you have to have a lot of answers to it. So there's 7 answers to it. And the Serenities, so the Reverend Silence allows, it's free if you have a forest, so you get your Bayou. You cast Reverend Silence, and then you do your combo, Dark Ritual, Entomb, Exhume. So it's free, and that's the fastest thing. But sometimes you don't have the combo, or you don't have your Reverend Silence, and they play a Chalice of the Void as well, and that's where Serenity comes in, because if they play Thorn of Amethyst, Leyline of the Void, Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere, I mean, this is like not an uncommon string of plays, especially with the Chalice. You can't play anything, so you're just staring at them. That's not an uncommon string of plays from a Leyline prison deck. So Serenity then cleans everything up when you finally get to play your first spell. It's Serenity, everything goes away, you untap and you combo. When you don't have the turn 1 to beat their Leyline, you're going to need more. And then you have this is like your 5th Reverend Silence, because it's only 1 mana, so you can do it on turn 1 and then combo on turn 2 or with a Petal or whatever. So it's kind of your 5th Reverend Silence, but it also just has more applications, and it's also your only way to beat a Chalice on 1 and 2, because this one, the converted mana cost is 3 when you fuse it. And then Shenanigans is good against artifacts. Chalice of the Void, it's okay against Chalice of the Void. You have to Entomb for it in response, and then it takes up your draw step, but you can keep using it. So it's good against Grafdigger's Cage as well, and Tormod's Crypt, things like that. So that's why there's one of those. And then the 2 creatures in the sideboard, Iona, Shield of Emeria, and Archetype. So Archetype gives all of your creatures hexproof. And so I've had a lot of people ask me about why are we not playing, what's the blue one called? There's a blue one that has like a 7/10, and it's got Shroud. And I asked, like, why aren't we playing that? The idea is this deck plays a lot better as a Gristlebrand deck rather than a toolbox deck. Okay, yeah, Inkwell Leviathan, thank you. And I'll answer your question in a minute, Slayer. Slayer's the donation for this deck, too, so I'm happy to see you here. Inkwell Leviathan. So this deck just plays much better as a Gristlebrand deck. Abusing Gristlebrand to bury your opponent and card advantage than it does as a toolbox deck. So you don't basically never want to have any other creature other than Gristlebrand, almost never, as your first reanimation target, unless you're playing around Surgical Extraction, you're playing around stuff, or you have no options because of looting. So it's a Gristlebrand deck, not a toolbox deck. So the Archetype combos as your 3rd creature, basically, your 2nd or 3rd creature. So you use Gristlebrand, and then you use Archetype to protect it from Karakas and Swords to Plowshares. And then if you can get Gristlebrand into Archetype plus Elishnorn, like Death and Taxes only has Council's Judgment to deal with that. So Archetype is not a win condition. It is protection for your creatures against Karakas, basically. That's why there's only 2. So there's Archetype, because Karakas can be a problem, and Iona, because you can bring it in against... So against Miracles, they have... Miracles blue-white decks, they have the tools to beat a Gristlebrand, while a lot of decks don't. So that deck... So Miracles can beat a Gristlebrand. And Storm can beat a Gristlebrand. Like, those are the 2 decks that can beat a resolved Gristlebrand. So the way Miracles does it is with Terminus or Jace or Terminus, Jace, Swords, Plowshares, that kind of stuff. So like you can draw a bunch of cards, but if they answer it, and then they follow up with the Jace, they sword your thing, and then they counter your next one or whatever, they surgical it, something like that. They are the decks that can beat it. So that's why there's only Iona and only Archetype in the deck. because you bring in Iona against Storm as your like as your finisher. Like you still usually just go for Gristlebrand, and like oftentimes Chancellor does the same things as Iona, but it's just another creature that's better than Elish against Storm, and against Miracles it's pretty important because again they can beat Gristlebrand, and like if you combo, like let's say you get Gristlebrand and then you get 2 Chancellors, and then they had just like put a Terminus on the top and they Terminus all your creatures. So you just put Iona and Archetype in play, Iona on white and Archetype to protect it from Jace, and they like literally cannot win the game. So it's a hard lock against Miracles. And the one of Coffin Purge. So I've heard a lot of people call it protection against surgical extraction. I would really recommend against using it as protection from surgical extraction. Spending that much money, spending that much mana to exile your own Gristlebrand so that they can't surgical the rest of them against blue decks is not a really good way to beat them. This is literally just for the mirror. You need something in the mirror. I found like you can just not have anything, and then you'll lose to the mirror a little too much. Coffin Purge is your one card for the mirror, dedicated for the mirror, and you can Entomb for it. So as long as you have 2 mana available in an Entomb, then you have protection against their first reanimation target, and that is big game in the mirror. And if you have it in hand, it's even better, because I don't think I've ever lost a game where I had this in my hand and I untapped with it. So, and then the Magus of the Moon is kind of like Archetype against Death and Taxes. It turns off the Karakas for a turn usually, and that's important because they have Thalia and Karakas, so like you often will lose if they untap Karakas you and then cast their Thalia. So if you can protect yourself from a Karakas just for a turn, that's good. And the reason this is good at doing that is because if your only reanimation target that you drew off of your Gristlebrand, say you're at 5 life, and the only reanimation target you have available to you is Reanimate for either mana considerations or just that's all you drew, then you won't be able to get Archetype because it costs too much life off of Reanimate. So you can get it from 3 life with Magus of the Moon, which is pretty important. This card is also very good against Depths. You also bring in the Archetype against Depths because of Karakas. Again, Karakas. That's what this is for. And all those Karakas decks can beat a 7/10. Like, Depths especially. Like, they don't care. If you get a thing they can't Karakas, and you're just attacking for 7 a turn, and then they attack you for 20, they're going to win. So, Archetype is pretty damned important. Magus is good against Depths as well, yeah. I think that covers everything in the sideboard. Somebody asked about sideboarding blind. Actually, Slayer first asked about Stronghold Gambit. Yes, he said, is it terrible? Yes, it's terrible. That card is very bad because, first of all, like, most decks play creatures. So it's very difficult to even set up or play. Yeah, I mean, it's just difficult to set up and play against decks that have graveyard hate where you'd want it, like surgical decks. They also just have redundant creatures in their hand often, like Gurmag Angler or, Young Pyromancer, like whatever it is that they haven't played because they're leaving up their counter magic. Like, it's too scary to even cast it. Like, you don't get your creature. It's very bad there. And then the decks that don't play creatures, well, there aren't any, except for maybe lands, and that is a very good matchup already. And I guess Storm, and again, that's a fine matchup. They don't even play Graveyard Hate right now, so there would just be no reason to play a 2-mana Show and Tell against Storm. I don't even think Show and Tell is any good in this deck, and the reason for that is because of what the deck does. Is it uses Gristlebrand to, especially against, okay, so you use Gristlebrand as I said, to bury your opponent in unbeatable creatures and discard. So if you are only using it to bury them and discard, well, you only really have 4 unmasked, so that's not a great plan because you draw a bunch of cards, and if you don't draw any unmasked, you can't really bury them and discard, right? And yeah, you might not be able to cast your therapies or whatever. And so you're just show and telling out a Gristlebrand and hoping it's good enough because you don't play counter magic, so you don't have any force of wills to draw into. You don't have any more. You're drawing into more show and tells, which I guess that's all right, but it's 3 mana, so you're not going to be doing it the same turn you cast Gristlebrand. So it's just not a very good sideboard option. Could you replace Magus with Progenitus? It protects itself. Progenitus doesn't go to the graveyard, I don't think. So no. And again, we're not looking for toolboxy stuff. We're looking to do the same thing every game and then bring in one of these creatures in the matchups where they can deal with your game plan. And the thing you're doing every game is you're drawing a lot of cards with Gristlebrand and burying them in unbeatable creatures and discard. The reason this is in here is because it's a sweeper. So like we have 2 toolboxes in our deck, just 2. A sweeper and a removal spell. That's it. A sweeper against creature decks and against Delver, and a removal spell against whatever it is you need to remove. Whether it be a Jace, or a Narset, or a land, Caracas for example, or a bridge, whatever it is. You need a removal spell. So that's it. That's our whole toolbox. Removal, sweeper, that's it. And then you just have this for the matchups Caracas, specifically for Caracas, and for Storm and Miracles. You could cut this. You also bring this in the mirror, because it's as long as you reanimate it or exhume it, the game's over. So, they're extremely powerful. They're not just like hard to answer or whatever, you know. They're extremely powerful. They're the best at doing what they need to do, and so that's why they're there. So like that's it. That's the whole deck, and that should answer everybody's questions about why certain cards are not played or whatever. It's because if they don't do those things we just talked about, then there's no reason to play them. And all the cards that are flexible are things that answer Surgical Extraction and Leyline of the Void. So when you see it like what was it? Anyway, yeah, all the flexible stuff, the stuff I might change around here and there, it's to beat Surgical and Leyline of the Void. Everything else does exactly what it needs to do and doesn't really need to be changed. Swarm, well, I talked about this. Will be on YouTube though, so check out the VOD if you missed part of it. Any other questions before we get started? Oh yeah, I'll talk about the. I don't play it that often on stream just because like I feel like my win rate's really not very good on stream, and it's just much better off stream with different factors to that. But anyway, today's the donation deck, and I'll just mention I've started to track my record the last few days. I'm going to track it up to the LPL, which I'm deciding about whether or not I should play this, and the GP as well. And my record right now, I'll tell you all of them. I've been keeping track for some number of leagues now. Against Blue-White, I'm 6-0, which is a little bit higher than I expected. I think I've gotten a little bit lucky. Basically, in the Blue-White matchups, you want to win game 1. If you lose game 1, you're a big dog in the match. And if you win game 1, then game 2, much lower win chance. Like, you're on the draw. It's very, very hard to beat them. They have a lot of counter magic, and they have permanent-based hate now, which makes it very hard to beat them. I find if you're casting removal spells on their permanents, like that's not a good way to beat Blue-White. So I don't even bother with that. I've just started jamming as fast as possible because they have like 4+ 2-mana permanents that make them keep hands that don't have counter magic. So I will just jam against them. And then game 3, you don't want to mulligan. Basically, you just want to have a Chancellor hand, like a Chancellor turn 1. And if you get those, then you'll win the matchup. And if you mull to 5, you'll lose. And then I'm 1-0 against Storm. This is just for my tracking in the last few days. So 6-0 against blue-white. Let's give you a little bit of the idea of what the meta looks like recently, too. 6-0 against Storm. 1-0 against... Or, sorry, 6-0 against blue-white. 1-0 against Storm. I find that to be a very good matchup. It's not like I always win or anything, but I find it very favorable. I'm 0-2 against Rug Delver. I think that's a little bit below what I would expect long-term. Obviously, 0%. I would not expect that. But Rug Delver is one of the harder matchups. I'm 3-1 against Turbo Depths, or I just call all the Depths decks Turbo Depths. All the black-green Turbo... All the black-green decks. Black-green Depths decks, I'm just putting in the same thing. I'm 3-1. Against Crixus Control, I'm 1-1. Against 4-color Delver, I'm 2-0. Against UR Delver, I'm 0-1. Against 4-color Loam, I'm 1-0. Against Dredge, I'm 1-0. Against the Mirror, I'm 3-0. Against Death and Taxes, I'm 1-0. Against Mono Red Stompy, I'm 0-1. And against Food Chain, I'm 1-0. And against Sneak Control, I'm 1-0. Mostly that's what I'd expect, except for the 6-0 against Blue-Red, or Blue-White, and the 0-2 against Rug Delver. So my overall record in the last few days is 21 and 6. 21 and 6. Hey, Sea-Watch, thanks for the resub. Very much appreciated. 5 months in a row. So I'm 21 and 6 in the last few days, which is... I find that my long-term record with this deck is slightly above 70%, I would say. 71, 72%. And that's like probably like 77%. So it's a little higher than what I would expect over the course of like a month or something. But I do find it to be above 70%. I don't generally track results. I just do it every once in a while to see if I'm missing something. If there's like a matchup I'm losing more than I think I'm losing, or a matchup I think I'm worried about but I'm winning more than I thought I was worried about blue-white, and I'm already 6-0, so I don't think I need to be that worried about it. And Rug Delver, we'll see over the course of another 10 matches with them how it looks. If I need to start worrying about it more than I thought I did. Alright, any other questions about the deck? Now's a great time. Scrubland Bayou, why? Well, that's for the sideboard. For these it's basically just your leyline answers. Like, you need to have a splash. And I've tried both splashes, a Scrubland splash for a bunch of wear tears, and a green splash for a bunch of reverent silences. And then I found that Serenity was so incredibly powerful that I wanted to do both splashes. No, I do not want another Magus cutting a Leyline answer. Leyline answers are... I mean, against Leyline decks, you either have them or you don't. And you either draw them in time or you die. So you need a lot of them, I find. And Magus is pretty narrow. Confucio says, if you are going to play a tournament tomorrow, will you play Reanimator? Yeah, probably. Did I miss any others? What is Swarm for? Oh yeah, okay. Answered that. What are your easy cuts in sideboarding? On the draw, Chancellor. You lose a lot of value with Chancellor when you're on the draw, because there's a few reasons. People don't really seem to know this, but if you have a land in play, you can cast Force of Will without casting your Brainstorm first. You can just pay 1 mana for your Force of Will. Same with Daze. You can just tap your land, Daze, and then pay the 1 mana with the floating mana. So it loses a lot of value on the draw. Also Surgical, like you can pay the life and tap your land. So although it does have some value because it stops their turn 1 cantrip or their Spell Pierce, it loses so much value and such a bad draw that this is an easy cut. And I cut anywhere from like 2 to 4 of them in most matchups. Any consideration for the Wishclaw Talisman, which Ant has been playing? I mean, I've thought about it a little bit, but I think it's just too much mana. This deck has a problem with mana sometimes, and it's just too much. And you can't, like, you don't want to invest the... You'd have to combo the tutor turn, right? Like, not the turn you play it, that's fine, but that's 2 mana, which is a lot. But then, like, sometimes you have a 2 mana reanimate spell in this, and, like, I don't know, you just wouldn't want to give it to them and then try and entomb or something and then let them find their surgical. Why don't we just play Disenchant over Wear Tear? Because this is 1 mana. And also, I mentioned it's our only out to a Chalice on 1 and 2, which Disenchant is not. And if we did that, we would just play a 3rd Serenity. Serenity is more powerful than Disenchant. I think we are lacking... Yeah, that's another thing I already talked about. You should watch the video if your questions aren't answered and you weren't here at the beginning, and then you can comment in the YouTube comments if there's unanswered questions, and I'll try and answer. But also, don't forget, you can check my Patreon where I go in depth about changes to decks, metagame changes, things, reasons, etc., 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 and I do bi-weekly Reanimator leagues on my Patreon, so check it out. All right, we're gonna play the league now. Not a problem. That's why I'm going over all this stuff. I do it very often on my Patreon. I talk about Reanimator stuff all the time, but I don't do it that often here or for YouTube. But we're doing it today thanks to a donation deck. Well, I mean, they cut an Unmask for Duress. No, I've also tried Duress. Like I've tried almost everything in Reanimator over the years. I've tried everything. So the reason there isn't more discard is because there isn't any room in the main deck for any more. And in the sideboard, it's just not worth it. Like 3 Duress, 3 Unmask, and 2 Duress doesn't make any sense to me. Like you can't Duress your creatures out of your hand. Like, I don't know. This hand's good. All right, so this one, they have the Thalia and the Caracas. We have to just take this file because we're going to be exhuming. Usually when I draw 14 cards and I'm on the play, it's good enough to beat the Caracas and the Thalia, but not always, so we'll see. And we're obviously not taking the Caracas, or the Thalia, because then we would exhume and then we would lose. Because we can't follow up with a bunch of other spells. I generally think from the Death and Texas side, you're supposed to lead on the plains. That way I can't Ashen Rider their Caracas this turn. And it's not like I'm not going to draw 14 cards just because they have the Caracas. Also, drawing Ashen Rider was great. Because that means if I didn't draw Lotus Petals this turn, I would have Ashen Rider next turn. So I only have 1 2-mana Reanimate spell, which is not quite a lot. However, let's see here. 6, 7, 8. So I think the line here is to therapy for Thalia. And then next turn we can animate Dead Ashen Rider, exiling the Caracas, and then the following turn, assuming we don't draw any more 2-mana reanimate spells, we can hard cast a Gristlebrand. Even through a Wasteland. Or Port. And that's probably better than Ashen Rider this turn and using 2 lands instead of... Or that would use 3 mana instead of just 1 here. And this also allows us to flash back our therapy pretty nicely. Confucius, that uses 3 mana instead of 1, so that's why I like this line better. We don't really need this Entomb. Should probably keep a red source, though. The reason, so Confucius, the reason also is because I only have 1 2-mana reanimate spell, so I'm not guaranteed a Gristlebrand if I do that. Alright, well they just conceded. If I had two 2-mana reanimate spells, I would have therapied myself, exiled their Caracas, and then I get Gristlebrand as well. But since I only had 1, I think my line is the only way to ensure I get a Gristlebrand into play. So I bring in these for the Caracas thing that I mentioned. And that's it. Yeah, but I'm using up my mana, which is my ability to get Gristlebrand, if I do it that way. If I use a Dark Ritual, my line to hardcast Gristlebrand disappears. In this matchup, I like to just... So Recipes is a 2-mana spell, but they also have Thalia and Revoker and... what else? Rest in Peace, Containment Priest, Thalia, Revoker. These are all things that mess with you on turn 2. So I don't sideboard answers to one of those 4 things. Instead, I just try and find a hand with a turn 1 Gristlebrand. And that's it. That's the plan. And ignore Graveyard Hate. And then on the... Or turn 2 with discard. That's also an option. So turn 2 with discard or turn 1 combo. Or at least a high potential for a turn 1. So like a Looting and a Dark Ritual and a Petal. I'll keep. This is a good draw. So here... I'm gonna... I mean, some people try it. I don't really know the answer, goalie. Why people don't. So there's a couple options here. Animate Dead, like I mentioned before, is much higher chance of beating Caracas. So I could just exile Reanimate, and then I have 2 discards. However, it's bad against Port. It's bad against Port. But I guess I have a looting. So... Although I guess if they have 2 things, I'm going slowly anyway. Yeah, we'll get rid of... Reanimate. Also, if I have to Cabal Therapy, then I don't get to combo next turn anyway. But I'm not going to get rid of this Animate Dead no matter what. So maybe I'm supposed to just get rid of... Alright. So, unless they top deck, it should be a pretty easy game from here. So they need to top deck another Graveyard Hate, a Thalia, or a Sword Splashers, or a Port, or a Revoker. But Revoker maybe we can beat. It's a pretty good one, because I don't actually have, like, good options in my deck to beat it. To beat the... Oh, what? Why do people do that? I don't understand why he did that. Well, we would have potentially lost if they had named Gristlebrand, but they named a Lotus Petal. People do that all the time with this card. Why fetch? I guess because it makes him think I'm worried about the mana, and maybe he'll name Lotus Petal. That's the reason. And that's what happened. I know he can't name lands, but it makes him think maybe I'm worried about my mana. Can't activate it, but we can play it. Alright, so they have like a, looks like 1 turn here to draw Caracas. Or Rest in Peace would also be pretty good, but they'd have to draw more than that. So because of the Rest in Peace thing, I'll keep Magus of the Moon in my hand. Just discard all this other stuff that we don't need. I guess we don't need looting. What if they... Yeah, we don't need looting. Have most of your trophies come from Reanimator this season? I love this archetype. I started with Storm, but this is just so much better at doing busted shit on turn 1. Yeah, I think most of my... Well, I only have 4 trophies this season, and 3 of them came from Storm, so I guess that's... Yeah, I mean, from Reanimator. What do we got? That is not gonna matter. That was a good draw. Okay. I'm gonna name Fairy Macabre here. Because I just want to get my archetype and my Elish Norn into play, and that's GG's. I could... Yeah, they don't have Council's Judgment, or they would have cast it. We'll do it now because we gain life, and then we can use our Petal as well and get the Elish Norn right afterwards. Because we'll have our Petal. I mean, Elishnorn first and then Archetype. So, generally you want to exhume the archetype rather than animate at it, but I wasn't thinking about it, I guess, at the time. The reason for that is Flicker Wisp. But it's not like it's gonna matter this game. But generally, exhume the archetype, animate dead the Elishnorn. Oh shit, they're gonna be able to draw cards here. Whoops. I guess it doesn't matter. I don't think it'd be worth it to draw, because then they could actually potentially kill me. This doesn't really matter because they're dead on board. And because they can't draw into Council's Judgment. So they could draw into Flicker Wisp, and then they Flicker Wisp my Griselbrand, but that doesn't really do anything. I guess if they had Flicker Wisp and Caracas, I might actually lose. Flicker Wisp. Probably not, though. Can we not, like, bring racial things into our comments unnecessarily? Cartesian with the 4th trophy. Nice job. How's it feel? How's it feel to be at the top, Cartesian? I think it's just not necessary to mention race in that way. Not that it was negative, it's just like unnecessary. No, Griselbrand wouldn't die. It would just come back without an Animate Dead on it. If they Flicker Wisp the Animate Dead, the same thing. It just reattaches to Griselbrand. But if you Flicker Wisp the Archetype, then the Griselbrand is prone to being Caracas or Swords. I agree with Gully. Deseret, Twitch Prime, thank you so much. Wow. Good day for subs. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Goalie with the gifted sub, too. Thank you very much. Number 49. Holy crap. Holy crap. Thank you, Tezzeret. Glad to hear that. So with this deck, I don't stop mulliganing because I don't want to mulligan low. I just keep mulliganing until I have a hand that does something. At least, okay, so this is where I'll stop because it does something. It was great, Puncher's Chance. We lost a burn in round 5, though, unfortunately, in 3 games. Hopefully we hit a creature here. Ooh, we hit a creature. I'm not going to go for the turn 1 Elishnorn because I have no idea if it's even any good. It could be like, who knows what they are. Neville Shoot. I've played this person many a times. I can't remember if they play a Delver deck. Anyway, I think at this point I have 2 Reanimate spells. I can just fire one off. Even if they swords it, it's not the end of the world. Savannah. So if it's a Savannah deck, that means not only do they have swords, it actually is a relevant creature. Unfortunately, there, like, I didn't get any value out of my creature. Oh wow. Well, that's something. So we're playing against a white, green, blue food chain deck. We need a land or an entomb. Which might actually not be good enough anymore anyway, because now they can combo next turn. But we'll see. Oh yeah, I didn't think it was food chain. I thought it was like Maverick or something with swords. Yeah. It's pretty good. Is it right to looting turn 1 when you have 2 mana sources and reanimate, or do you think the natural one drop? Well, they could, like, we don't know what our opponent's playing, but they could be playing Spell Pierce or Cantrips to find counter magic, so yes, I think so. Also, you have the potential of, I mean, if that was a Gristlebrand, we would have had a turn 1 Gristlebrand on that Mold of 5, so yeah, I think it is. Are we dead? That's probably dead, right? Oh wait, that only gets, oh, that gets a Ballista. Yeah, too bad. I played against a deck yesterday that had a Leyline in their food chain deck. However, sideboarding for Leyline against a blue deck in the game 2 when we lost game 1 is, if we don't know they have Leyline, is really bad news. So I don't see any reason to make them do the combo. They showed me that they have it. Hey, 17 Parks. I'm still enjoying the streams. Glad to hear that. Thank you for the 3 month, 5 months streak. 5 months, 3 months streak. Much appreciated. This might be good against them. Why are people playing Food Chain all of a sudden? I don't really know how to sideboard against Food Chain. This seems bad. I guess I'll just do this. I'm not going to bring in Swarm because I think they play Fairy Macabre because they play that tutor. Well, I mean, our hand needs a creature anyway, so anyway. Yes, I think the play was correct. So I'll lose to Fairy Macabre here, but why would I bring in Archetype? I don't think they play Caracas. I don't bring in Archetype for Swords to Plowshares. Get out of here, yo, so easy with that hate. With that cheering for the opponent's Fairy Macabres. You want me to win? Oh. I don't like Fairy Macabre. Do you think they have it? I guess we'll find out. Yes, we'll find out. Hey, you know what though? If they do, it's not like the game's over. We have another Reanimate. We just need to find a red source. Because Fairy Macabre isn't as good as Surgical Extraction. Fairy Macabre's just annoying because it gets through Chancellor. I don't hate all Graveyard Hate. I just hate the good ones. Well, actually, Fairy Macabre's not that good. Chancellor's bullshit. This sounds pretty good. I agree, Chancellor is kind of bullshit, but I don't like pregame effects, really. I think they shouldn't be part of Magic. I was thinking about waiting a turn to unmask, but now I have a Dark Ritual I can respond with to a Flusterstorm. Force, pitching Force. Alright, whatever. YOLO. If they have a Surgical, so be it. Can't really try and outdraw them if they have one. Or Fairy Macabre. Fairy Macabre would be super annoying because now they get to attack me with it. God damn it. The reason I go for it there is because I don't have anything to follow up. Like, I don't have any reason to wait. Because I just, like, have to draw into Therapy or Unmask Thoughtseize. It's not enough outs for me to just wait. I guess if they're on 4, maybe. I don't know. I think it's right to go for it. They forced pitching Force, so... It either means they're protecting a Graveyard Hit or they're protecting that they have nothing. Oh, they do have shit. This is another reason to go for it. Okay. Can't win. Can't beat all of this. They are prepared. They came prepared for this matchup. I think this is a keep. It's close to not a keep, but we're on the draw, so I can just like discard Griselbrand. Yeah, I mean, if people have, like one of my losses, the GP, my opponent, when they were de-sideboarding, I saw 3 Surgicals, 2 Containment Priests, and 2 Rest in Pieces, and it's like, if they have that much stuff, yeah, you can't really expect to beat those ones very often. And this, because they also have Force of Wills. Well, it depends on how many lands you got, Slayer. That was not a bad draw. How many lands you got? How much mana you got? How much you have to use your discards and your mana. And do they have a threat? Yeah, just wait. Try and build up mana. Build up mana and discard, and you'll get there. So the reason I didn't unmask there is because it's better to wait on discards until you're going to do something, due to the fact that people play cantrips, and your information isn't that great. Also, I just have, like, such a great turn next turn now. This is Brianborn Cutthroat. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, put a +1 on Brineborn Cutthroat. Yeah, I mean, I've played against this person many times, and they've always played weird blue, like, not Storm. It's a lot of hate. Or it's a lot of counter magic. I'm gonna take the Spell Pierce and pass. And hope that they play their Brineborn Muse. And don't draw a blue card. That's the hope. Why not Spell Snare? The reason I took this is because I'm hoping they play their Brineborn Muse. Alright. If they play their Brineborn Muse, I can unmask them next turn and take their Spell Snare, and then if they don't have a blue card... punished, kind of. Not really. So basically they couldn't play out another threat, which means this is still a 2-2. Hey! 70 Parks! Yeah. After this I can. I played it before this too. We went 4-1, losing to Burn round 5. What are they doing? What are they doing? Are they crazy? They're just tempting me. Seems like a weird play. I'm not gonna draw because I could draw Bolt. So if I go to 16, I go down to 9. I don't die to Bolt unless they Bolt, unless they have it. Well, no. Go to 9. Yeah, I guess I would die to a Bolt if I drew nothing, but whatever. Bolt in hand, that is. But I didn't draw nothing, did I? Did not draw nothing. Drew something. Snapcaster. Alright. That's actually really good. They're going to target what? Spell. Spell. Which spell you gonna... Whatever it is, I'm gonna have to... Let's see, 4, 7, 8, 9... So I think I will be putting myself dead to bolt this turn. Oh man. Yo Soy Easy gifted sub. Thank you, goalie. And what's up? Yo Soy Easy, number 50, goalie. Spell Snare. Tight. Alright. Draw. Okay, I got 3. All right, this will be great. This turn's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna make it so they have no outs. I think. Yeah, we could. But I want to make it so they have no outs. Depending on what they do here. I mean, what are they thinking about? What are we thinking about, opponent? I guess they'll have ouch now. No, they won't have outs. Actually, yeah, no, they won't have outs. I'll be at 1. Oh no, it's my second main. They will have outs. Whatever. I thought it was my first main. If it was my second main, they would have no outs. If it was my first main, they would have no outs. I guess Vapor Snag would have been an out. I don't know. Seems like they should. Maybe I'm wrong. Shit. I forgot these grow. And I thought it was my first main. Am I dead? I'm not dead. They have outs, though. Wait, am I dead? God damn it. I thought it was my first main. Forgot I attacked. Oh, no. And these grow. Well, I screwed this all up. I could have exiled a creature at least. Pretty bad. I'm dead. Well, if it was the main phase, if it was my first main phase, as I thought it was, I would pass there so that they can't spell snare. And then I would get Ashen Rider for their second red source and Elvish Norn to kill all their creatures. Except for the one. But I kind of realized where I was at a little bit late there. And that would have left them with only an out. Their only out would have been Vapor Snag. So that's what I was talking about. But obviously I didn't realize where I was at in the main phase. Why don't concede? I'm dead. That was a pretty unfortunate loss because I don't really understand why they played their second creature out and leaving them with no Force of Will blue card. And then yeah. Kind of sad. It's alright, we'll try and win the next two. Definitely outscale. I mean, I didn't realize where I was at in the game. Till it was too late. I tried to go to the next phase and I'm like, oh. Well, at least I didn't pass the turn. But I could have played that better. I could have sacked my Gristlebrand. And I could have got Gristlebrand back and then... Yeah, with the therapy, instead of exiling their land, I could have exiled... Or I could have sacked my Gristlebrand and then cast two, Exhume and Animate Dead, and then that puts my Gristlebrand at... It gives my Gristlebrand Vigilant. It untaps my Gristlebrand, basically. I guess I keep this. I don't feel great about it. But I don't think I mulligan it, because it has a Chancellor. It's a turn 2 with a Chancellor trigger. So it protects getting my Gristlebrand in the graveyard, but it loses pretty hard to, like, Surgical Extraction. It doesn't lose super hard to any counter magic, because we have 2 Reanimate spells. Anyway, that game would have been easy to win if I'd realized where I was at in the thing. Just sacked Gristlebrand. And here, they could have Flusterstorm. So I'm going to play around... Oh, interesting. Well, I lose to Surgical either way, so I might as well just cast this. Helps beat a Force of Will this turn. If they Fluster, I'll pay 1. So I can take their Force of Will. And by the way, I'm not counting on my tracking when I'm streaming because I don't play as well and other factors as well. Alright. If they have 2, so be it. Surgical would also get me, but that was already the case. Yeah. This should mean we go to game 3. It's going to be harder for me to screw this one up, because they don't have any threats. we kind of want this. They have so many blue cards. I mean, I guess... No, we'll just leave these in. Usually I cut this against blue, like, Delver decks, but since their things can grow out of Elishnorn range, I think I just leave this in as well. I want a second discard spell and cut 2 Chancellors. I'm not going to worry about artifacts. Well, I could bring it in. Cut a Chancellor for shenanigans. I guess we're just too late, so we'll hope they don't have that. I don't even bring it in against a lot of monocolor decks, Big Boss Sauce. It's mostly just for Storm and Reanimator and Miracles. Sounds pretty good. Obviously needs a land. There's our land. Interesting. Exactly. And a lot of monocolor decks have, like, files and stuff, too, so that's good. That was a great draw. That was a great draw. Hopefully they don't have Surgical. It's better because our hand's excellent against counter magic, and if we try and beat Surgical as opposed to counter magic, our hand is not very good. That's why. Hopefully we don't get wastelanded. Uh-oh. I wonder if this means they're hiding something or they're looking for something. Or, like, this either means they're hiding something, which is pretty risky because of petals and stuff. And it wouldn't be a Surgical. It would just be counter magic. Or it means Brainstorms are only spell. So they're just casting it. Also, we don't just lose to Surgical now because we have Faithless Looting and Chancellor. Yeah. That's not good. But at least we have Chancellor in hand. How often do I get to hardcast Crystal Daddy? Once every 3 leagues or so. Card Hoarder looks okay to me. Two drown and whatever's on top. I'm a little worried about Snapcaster. I could name Snapcaster here. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I think the name here is Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, they definitely have a Snapcaster. Okay. Well, maybe we can beat a Snapcaster. Oh, okay. Well, that's beatable. Hopefully they don't have a Snapcaster then. Damn, that's the unknown card. That's pretty good for them. I don't think it gets any better. Shuffle. No. No. What you got? They have edicts and stuff in their deck too. We're working on slim margins here, or slim chances. But they are low resources, so we have a chance. Although they haven't been shuffling. I think they have an edict and a surgical, maybe. What? I don't know why they would be thinking. What? Unless they have nothing, or they have two things. I have two cards. So I guess they have an edict and a, I don't know, what else? Why would they not keep, or why would they not shuffle and then not do anything? It has to be an edict, but why would they tank for so long? It's like pretty straightforward. So they must have one more thing. It's surgical. What would I have Entombed for? Elish Norn, I think. Yeah. That's pretty good. Question is, how long do I wait? Do I have an Entomb in my graveyard? I do. Hmm. I don't want this to grow, so I'm waiting, even though it could give them access to more things. I'm targeting this because it's a much better reanimation target for me, since I have Entomb. Reanimate. Ooh, that's good too. So they could draw into an Edict, but at least their shit would be dead. Hopefully this brainstorm's not very good. I could have got Ashen Rider, but this seemed a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe Ashen Rider, getting rid of this is better because it's against everything but Jace. Jace. So we just bounce the Ashen Rider. Everything else I can either therapy or exiles a land, at least if they answer it. So I'll use this to Entomb for a... Let's see if they shuffled first. They didn't shuffle, so it must be a Jace. Why would they not shuffle? Oh, it must be a Snapcaster Mage. Snap Edict, I guess. Huh, I wonder why they didn't shuffle. Seems like they would have done something by now. Why not Entomb the Rider there? Because I wanted to loot. Having Rider in my graveyard isn't very good. I was also because I was pretty sure they either had Snapcaster Mage or Jace. Like, what else would they not shuffle there? Snapcaster Mage or Jace. So looting is good against Jace and against Snapcaster Mage. Right. We're looking for more reanimation spells. Because we, yeah, like Tajero said, like every target is good at this point. With Elder Norn in play, every target's good. That doesn't need to be any, like they're at 5. I'm surprised they took damage there. So I'm targeting this because I can flash back therapy. And then reanimate on Elishnorn. Or if it just resolved, like they weren't thinking, then I could just reanimate Elishnorn and then I have lethal. Huh. What can they target here? Also because of this. But they have 2 Snapcasters in this thing. Hard cast, force of will. No tunes when I'm... This is going on YouTube today, Yo So Easy. This is a donation deck. That's interesting. That's good. If I draw a land... Uh-oh. Now they have a threat. It's kind of scary. Yes, BR did get donated. Shit. I'm gonna lose now. Stupid 2-1. Because now I can't reanimate. Reanimate wasn't out until now. Now it's not. I guess I could reanimate Elish Norn. That's fine. Now it's fine. It wasn't fine before because it actually just didn't do anything. Now it does something. Why are they playing like this? Like, why are they going so slow on these decisions? I'm thinking about it. I think they would have countered something though, right? Like if it was a... So if it was like any counter spell, they would have cast it. The only thing it could be is a Snapcaster Mage. In which case I shouldn't Therapy first, because they'll just flash it in. Or it could be another Spell Snare, but I don't think I'm supposed to play around that. Can't be a Spell Pierce. They would have used it by now. Also, this is, I think, a little too good in play. I guess it could be a Surgical. Oh yeah, this is much better against Edict because I have this. Because they're at 4, so like the Snapcaster's not irrelevant. Those are some weird games, I gotta say. I was like, it'd take a long time, but I will say JQB's definitely. I've seen this before, this stuff, and I think it's pretty cool. I've thought about maybe trying something too. Like, it seems pretty cool, this card, in a control deck. Like, it has flash. Yeah, no, the speed of his plays were a little bit like, I'm not sure what's going on. Like, why do they... Maybe it's so that... I don't know. I don't understand. But maybe it's so that, like... I think he has more stuff, so I play differently. Maybe. But, like in a situation here when I reanimate Snapcaster Mage, targeting Dark Ritual, I think they would have done something at that point. Because I have therapy. Like, I'm threatening the therapy. So I think it's safe to not flash it back, basically. They would have had to stop me from getting the Snapcaster. Anyway. But I think this deck is pretty cool. I think this card seems decent in a control deck. Because it has flash. So you can just, like, flash it at the end of the turn. I don't know. I'd be curious what Janky B's experience with this, how good this card is in a control deck. Because it seems pretty cool, but I'm not sure. Because it can die. It's a 2/1. So I'm gonna like maybe Gurmag's just better. I don't know. But I think it's cool. Thank you for the punts in game 1 so we could watch this very interesting game 3. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely punted away game 1 there. I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. If you're watching on YouTube, there are timestamps in the comments. I'll be right back. All right. And now I'm back. I think I missed a question in there too. What said something about? We did almost reach the goal. People have been great with the donation decks. Have been a lot of fun. And other donations. I have booked my ticket to Bologna. I think I missed some follows. RL Guapo, thanks for the follow. I think I missed that one. But yeah, as you can see, like, you don't just lose to surgical, it's just the games become a lot harder. GP Bologna's bar is... Don't fully understand. Are good to eat in, is what you're saying? Good bars to eat in? So this hand's, like, not good, but it's Chancellor Trigger and 2 lootings and mana and an unmask. It's, like, pretty decent. This is the kind of hand that, like, usually when you lose, it's because you end up seeing, like, the top 20 cards of your deck and you see no reanimate spells. But that doesn't happen that often. It's the best place to eat in the world. Okay, awesome. I'm excited to eat food in Bologna. I will be taking suggestions. I'm going to be there for 2 weeks, so give me all the suggestions. Don't make me poor. That's pretty good. So I'm going to unmask now because he might concede, which would be great. I would not be at all surprised if they concede here. No concede. I guess... So we can take LED, or we can take Tutor, or we can take Lotus Petal. So if we take Lotus Petal, there's a... No, that's bad, because they'll just pay 1, play LED, pass, and then we have to draw our thing. If we take Tutor, they're going to play Lotus Petal, not pay, Delta, LED, and leave up Brainstorm. Probably. That doesn't seem so bad. Or we could take LED, and then they can play Delta, Petal, pay, leave up this, and then they're not doing a lot. I think it's LED. Petal could... Nah, Petal means we have to hit next turn, but it stops them from finding a discard spell, but discard's not that scary. I think we take LED. Tutor's, yeah, unique, but LED is the thing that makes us they can kill us with their Brainstorm better. Now their Brainstorm has to hit, like, LEDs. Alright, let's hit. Nice. So since we'll still have a land drop, and they're not playing Flusterstorm, we'll take the extra mana here. Yes, but they're not gonna win without LED. They're not gonna win with they're not gonna win very quickly with Dark Ritual and Infernal Tutor. And yeah, there's more mana, but it's not LED. It's different. It requires them to get rid of lands out of their hands as well as draw tutors. I mean, fast mana. While LED lets them do everything. Now they can see. I sometimes bring this in on the draw. Pretty good. Not great. I mean, this card is not really a thing, but if they don't have turn 1 discard or turn 2 kill, we're in pretty good shape. Also Flusterstorm, but it's all good. It's fine to keep hands that are not bad against discard against Storm, because if they follow Cyrus's guide, then they only have like a few discard spells in this matchup. They actually side out Thoughtseizes, or he does. I don't like casting on Mask in these situations because got green mana up. It's like too shitty if they have Veil. And it also cuts off some of my top decks if I use my Unmask. So there's 2 reasons not to cast Unmask there. Chose to shuffle. Play LED. Pass the turn. Really love to find a looting. I'm not gonna play that land. Doesn't benefit me to play it. Yeah. Well, I mean, we had the Entomb, and when we lose it, our hand becomes pretty much nothing. So, and it's not that uncommon for it to go like this in Storm. Like, they're just trying to discard you a bunch, and your top decks are also alive. Like, I have Looting and Entomb, and so on. And Unmask. So unless they have like Chain of Vapor, this is gonna be really hard for them to win from, because we have Coffin Purge to shut off LED for the most part. And now if they find a land and Echoing Truth, that would also work. Coffin Purge doesn't fully shut off the graveyard, but they're going to need more than one win condition, and they can't really LED out their Past in Flames into their graveyard. It just doesn't work. So they have to like hard cast Past in Flames through Chancellor and have two tutors. So that's not going to happen, but they might have a bounce spell. So the way we lose is a bounce spell. It seems they don't have it. I guess they could have an Echoing Truth and no land. Yeah, Black-Red Reanimator leagues are usually quite fast. Our last couple matches have taken quite a while, though. Even for 2 games, that's like 20 minutes. We're on the play. We'll keep this. It's pretty freaking good if we draw land off of our looting. And if you have 2 creatures, like, you don't really need Gristlebrand, because, as I mentioned, you're often using a Gristlebrand to get 2 creatures, so being able to do it without Gristlebrand is also pretty good. Opponent mulled to 4. I guess with a Chancellor Trigger, I'm not too worried about them reanimating my thing on turn 1. So unless they are Reanimator and reanimate my thing on turn 1, then they probably do not win from here. Yeah, so this is one of those ley line decks. This is a tough one. Because it sucks to cut Chancellors against Chalice decks, but I don't think there's other things to cut, unfortunately, except for like Dark Rituals and stuff. I think we do it like this. Can also cut like a Reanimate, but try this. Oh yeah? I guess he didn't get the memo that people don't play Eldrazi anymore. It's just very bad against Ren and 6 decks. I mean, it's very bad against Ren and 6 and Wasteland, so I think it feels too bad to play it, because that's going to happen too often. This is super, super, super close to a keep, but it's not. I guess that's worse. It's a different format, though. Here's hoping he doesn't have a Chalice, because it appears he doesn't have a... Yikes. Alright, that's a good draw. I'm actually going to fetch, because it's not actually thinning, because I put 2 lands on the bottom. And I want mana, so I want mana. There's 2 lands on the bottom, so it actually slightly better. Actually, better than slightly, because I know there's two lands on the bottom. I don't even actually really need a land. I need 1 more land. I don't need 2. I don't need to answer this. Like, this Entomb's going to resolve. They could have Fairy Macabre, but he is on 2 cards, so I don't have to answer this before I combo. I just need to get a land before I die. A land or mana. Dark Ritual. Probably should have done this on my turn. They could have... No, they have no counter magic for instants, only sorceries. It was, yes. Oh, they have a Wasteland now? Yikes, I guess we're dead. There's no way I was supposed to not fetch a Badlands, though. It just sucks, because... I guess I can draw lands. No. 4, 6... 12. I guess I have a chance. Eight. I don't have a chance. Just dead. These Eldrazi decks are a pain in the butt. Was a mull to 5 though. Okay. Hopefully. Was it a mull to 4? Yeah. Yikes. It is, I agree, Bear. Yeah, Bear, I bought my ticket. I will be there for 2 weeks, actually. I'm going to go to the Four Seasons tournament as well, the week before the Grand Prix. Nice. Let's do it. Without Rens, Eldrazi would be good. Maybe. I don't know. I was supposed to get a basic there. Whoops. Alright, let's draw a looting or an entomb, please. No, entomb. No. God damn. Alright. Alright. No, why? God damn. I hate these decks. Four. Looks pretty dead to me. I look pretty dead. I guess I can draw a looting now. Oh no, I'm just dead. I can draw unmask. No, I can't. I'm dead. No outs. Alright, well, I think at least we had some, hey, thanks. Oh, that's YouTube. Had some good matches. 3-2. Made some mistakes in one of those wins, but Eldrazi's always been hard. Eldrazi, when it was popular, was one of the most difficult matchups. And these days, I would say there aren't any like really difficult matchups. But again, it's like you saw in Molde 4 or whatever. It's like those are the games that you lose against lots of decks. So even though I say the deck doesn't really have many bad matchups, it does have a lot of variance to it. So it's very strong against the field, but has some variance. So that's why it's not like 100% win deck. It's close. It's close. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that league. If you did, you should hit that subscribe button on my YouTube, because I am getting closer and closer to getting the pennies that I would get if I have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I only need 95 more. So hit that subscribe button. If you really enjoy the content and you want to ensure that I'm able to continue making content for a long time, you should check out my Twitch or my Patreon, both Ewlandon, and subscribe to one of those. Thanks again for watching.